Well, I didn't know how this was gonna. I didn't know what the vibe was gonna be, so I have this jacket, and then just in case, I gotta be repping the brand.
That's the biggest poo I've ever seen on a shirt.
Yeah, someone put a big old poo on my shirt.
1, 2, 3, 4. These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that pops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French.
Oui, oui.
If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.
Yum, yum.
Oscar Wieners.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners,
Wow.
the only show on the internet where Hollywood. Oh, okay.
Well, give me a sec. No, sorry. Actually, take that again. I wasn't fully prepared. Now I'm ready.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners, the only show on the internet where Hollywood's biggest knight has sex with his socks on.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
I am Conan O'Brien.
Nice. And I'm Onan O'Crian.
Cool.
We've reassembled. The Avengers are back in session. It's Oscars time. Oscars time has actually come and gone. That's what most people think. It's actually just begun. Evelyn, Preston, and Anna Giacometti are here joining us today. The Lisan Al Gaibs themselves. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to talk a little Noms, talk a little Anora. Mike, you were prophetic in saying that it was going to win. Evelyn also quite prophetic, and I think you predicted like every possible category that the Oscars has.
I
Yeah.
I did the
Well,
I was able to guess like the big like five awards. I won't lie, I did pretty bad on my entire ballot though. I was able to get those, but I did pretty bad on the other ones because of some wishful thinking.
mm.
But Anna did really good on her ballot.
Won my Oscar pool at my office, although this was the year with the least participation in history. So
Still counts. Still bringing home that trophy. Still bringing home the Oscar.
I'm actually Michael. He's actually Ander, by the way.
They know.
And this is a show where every week we pick a Best Picture winner at random, try to figure out what's Best Picture worthy. And this week we're talking about the most recent Best Picture winner. It is Sean Baker's Anora.
He did it.
He did it. He finally did it. What's it about? I'm glad you asked. Mikey Madison plays the titular Anora, and she's a sex worker. She works at a strip club. She does sex work like privately, personally. I don't know how you'd say it, but she,
Like freelance.
yeah, freelance, exactly.
Yeah.
She's hired by Yvonne, played by Mark
Nice.
who is the wealthy son of a Russian oligarch. He's a little fucking freak, who probably needs to be medicated, and he is like, "You're so hot, be my girlfriend for like 3 weeks." And yes, so shit happens. It's a long, rambly kind of improvisational sort of cool movie. Anna, Annie. um, what what was your experience watching Anora? What are your feelings about it? What are your feelings about Sean Baker as a guy?
okay, wow, a lot there. So I watched Nora um with my friend Anna, who is the reason Ander and I know each other.
Shout out.
It was just a Friday night on the couch with your bestie kind of night, and we had a blast. I personally loved this movie. I could have watched it for hours and hours. Of course, I came to Sean Baker through Tangerine and then loved the Florida Project. But really thought the Florida Project shit the bed at the end. And I had heard people talking about the Anora ending, so I was very nervous about how it was going to end. And then when it actually ended, my jaw was on the floor. I was so excited. I think this was my favorite ending I think since Call Me by Your Name. I think my three favorite movie endings ever, and they all kind of have the same feeling, are The Graduate, Call Me by Your Name, and Anora. 3 perfect freaking endings. And I mean, I loved the movie, but the ending, literally, that last scene, the last minute, made this movie for me. It was for sure my favorite of the year, probably the last couple of years. I loved it so much.
Definitely a huge moment for sure.
Yeah, I didn't even think of The Graduate. That's such a good comparison, though. Evelyn, same question? What were your feelings about Anora? What was your experience like watching it? Feelings on Sean Baker. I feel like you love Sean Baker.
Yeah, I love Sean Baker. The first time I heard of him and kind of came into the Sean Baker universe was with the Florida Project. And that was around when I watched the Florida Project was when I really was starting to engross myself in watching movies and kind of getting into cinema. And I loved it. I love the ending of the Florida Project. The moment when Mooney kind of loses her shit and then just runs away to Disney World. I love it. And it's almost like she has like a GoPro attached to her head and they're just like running and running and running. I love it. Loved Tangerine, I loved Red Rocket, and I loved Anora. I think Sean Baker is one of like the greatest, I guess you could say, like newer directors on the scene right now. I think he's very creative and has like a very strong vision. And what I like to say about Sean Baker is I feel like he is one of the best directors right now displaying marginalized and underserved communities. Like he's made movies about trans women, he's made movies about low income people, he's made movies about sex workers. So I just think he's awesome. And I loved Anora. I was so engaged and on the edge of my seat the whole time. I saw it with my girlfriend Sophie in theaters and it was so fun. I thought the music was amazing. And I think what made me love the movie even more is like kind of like all of like the behind the scenes stuff. Like I've learned like how much a lot of the actors and talent had like a say in things. Like I heard like Mikey had like a lot of say in like the music and like her wardrobe and stuff like that, and like how she even got her nails done and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed Anora, and I think it feels like a passion project. It feels like he put a lot of love into it.
It's really cool that I didn't know that they consulted Mikey so heavily on the production of it. But you can kind of tell, like, it seems like Anora has the personality of a real human being. So you can tell that like maybe she had a lot to interject into that, and it showed in her performance. That's cool.
Andrew, did you like Anora? Or
I think Anora is excellent. I just learned who Sean Baker was 5 minutes ago when you said his name, but I think he did a great job. I ask for very little. Just give me something. I ask for very little. Give me something propulsive with characters that I care about. And this delivered on that in spades. I think Anora is a great protagonist to root for. She's also someone who you can still learn new things about as the movie goes on. Like her character's not cemented right from the jump. It seems even to the extent like that she doesn't even know who she is. Like the whole time, like, who is Anora? Like, what does she want? Is it love, money, sex, whatever? I'm not sure she even knows herself. And I think that's a really interesting angle And it kind of, that thread keeps you hooked for the whole movie. This is a good one for sure.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because what you just said makes so much sense, because kind of what Anna was saying at the end of the movie when she's having sex with, I forget the bald guy's name.
Igor,
thank you. When they're having sex at the end and then she like starts bawling hysterically, I think that encapsulates your point perfectly about Anora.
Also, spoilers for Anora, by the way. We kind of should have.
no.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, maybe put on a different podcast. Go to Joe Rogan or something.
Don't go to Joe. Joe
Yes,
and
Does Matt Rife
we're in
have a
feud with
podcast?
Joe.
I'm sure you could probably listen to that.
We'll listen to Anders Fishtails podcast.
Shark Tale, actually, but it is called.
I'm sorry, that's a movie I've never seen.
We did get sued, so we did have to call it Fishtail. So you're not wrong.
No, I actually, I don't mean to like heap praise on Ander. He does not need the ego, but Evelyn,
Excellent.
I do definitely want to like Ander. You kind of summed it up perfectly. Like, I think what makes Anora so good is just like for 2.5 hours you're watching her like. I think it has to do with like class. I think it has to do with like survival. She like has like, she doesn't really have time to think about who she is. It's really just like I need to get that bag, as the hip people say.
Totally.
I think in that way, like, just to heap more praise on Sean Baker, I think like this is such a good movie about the way class feels in America, which is like we all are aware that it exists, but because of kind of like the messaging we get from like rich people that actually we could be just like them if we worked hard enough. Class actually doesn't exist. We just have to work hard and we'll also be rich one day. Sean Baker somehow like turns that into like a narrative and like conveys it through action. Cause like Anora is clearly motivated it's complicated, but I think one of the reasons she's motivated to like marry Ivan is because like obviously because he's fucking he's an oligarch's son.
Yeah,
He's strapped with cash, and not strapped with cash. He's full of cash.
But I also feel like her motivations aren't so clear. Like, I like what you brought up about it being a class movie. I didn't really see it that way at first. I think you raised some good points, but I kind of saw it more of like from the romance angle. And the whole time, like I wavered at times, but mostly I believed her that she had true feelings for Yvonne and that they were reciprocated. At the end, spoilers once again, it completely falls apart. But
Do you think she was in love with him or the life that he was providing for her?
I really don't know.
I feel like that's one of the central questions of the movie. I wrote that down. I was like, do we think she's in love with him or no?
For most of the duration, I thought yes. I think she was more enamored with the idea of finding herself and maybe even a sense of stability. She kind of like seizes everything that life has to offer, and then it's all ripped away from her in the blink of an eye. And that's, obviously jarring to say the least.
I also think it's so interesting. I mean, I think we're all like around the same age, but
I'm 47.
It's not right.
I'm 15.
So me too.
Mike's 15, yeah.
But it brought
12
back the
months.
feeling.
Evelyn is 12 months, yes. So please tread lightly.
He captured so well the feeling of like being an adult, but not actually being an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are technically an adult. She's taking care of herself. She is, a sex worker. She is doing all of these things. But at the end of the day, like, his parents made the ultimate decision and she kind of had no power over that. And I think it brought me back to that feeling, which is like such a terrifying feeling of, getting caught in this place between childhood and adulthood where you don't fit into either, and you really don't have any power or control over your own life. And that I feel like is something I haven't seen in a movie in a bit, or at least I haven't had it resonate so strongly in a movie in a bit.
Such a good point. And there's even that scene, like, I think it's the first time I think it's the conversation after the first time Anora and Yvonne have sex. I think she asks him how old. She's like, "How old are you, even?" And how old is he? 21 or is he 20?
He's
19?
21, yeah.
21. And she's like,
she's what, 24?
yeah,
23,
but it's so
24,
funny because
yeah.
she says it as if like she's like, I'm like a seasoned vet, but it's like,
Right.
oh, you're also like kind of a kid still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're both kids.
When everything kind of goes to shit and he runs away, where they say like, this isn't even his house. That's his parents' room you're in. His room has the rocket ships on the wall. Just that kind of feeling where it's like, oh crap, like it made me realize like, oh, I've definitely dated some guys who I thought were like grown men and they did still have rocket ships on their wall. Like it just really kind of puts into perspective the whole thing of like, oh, we're all children doing and especially because they're doing such adult things.
Right.
A lot of coke, a lot of sex, a lot of parties. Like it's kids in an adult's world.
You can do coke and still have a rocket ship themed bedroom, okay? I don't want to.
More fun.
Yeah, exactly.
They do act very juvenile in this movie, like the candy shop scenes
Mhm.
and the parties and stuff with their Yvonne's like little group of hoodlum friends.
Who are great, by the way. I actually like his friend group.
I thought his acting was incredible.
Yeah.
And he was so charming that like I might have fallen for it too.
He is very charming for sure.
He's so charming.
Is he?
I mean, okay, so this might be something I should like talk to my therapist about instead of sharing it on a podcast.
No, yeah, this is a good space for
Oscar
sure.
Wieners, let it be known, Oscar Wieners is therapy if you want to come on.
I mean, there's some things that are just disgusting, like when she's like hugging him and he's just playing Call of Duty. Like that,
Yeah.
gross. But I don't know, there's something like playful. I also might be getting it confused now because Mark's like red carpet personality of just him taking it all in is just so like adorable and cute of being like in America, like being around movie stars. I think he's just like really funny and charming. He's like a Timothy Chalamet,
Yeah, just like he's like a 3 years ago Timmy Chalamet, just like really excited to be there, and then in 3 years he'll be like, I played Bob Dylan. Give me a fucking Oscar, for God's
coming
sake.
to the Oscars
Timmy.
dressed as a stick of butter.
Yes. That'll be him in 3 years' time.
Riding a Citibank bike.
A Citibank bike.
What the fuck is it? What is it? City
It's a
bike?
city bike,
City
man.
bike.
Okay,
Get
sorry, I'm not
cool.
in the city. You
City
coastal
bank.
elites, I swear to God.
Oh my God, dude.
I loved how New York this whole movie was.
Same, yeah. And a side of New York that we don't really get to see in movies either.
Right.
And you know what?
Huh.
For an independent movie that was only made for $6 million, shot on beautiful 35mm film and looks gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
We shout out the fact that Sean Baker just like does this all like it's a like a film project in college. Just did the
Crazy.
whole damn thing.
When he
And I
came on
love
the
a director
Oscars,
who had
yeah.
his own font. That
He got his
means he
own
really
font?
cares.
Oh yeah, I guess he does use the same font.
Same font every movie.
Yeah, let's
Oh
name
my
some
gosh,
other
yeah, you're right.
Who are some other great directors? Like Woody Allen, of course, is a great man who uses the same font.
Right, of course.
Um,
Oh, Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Quentin-
he did
yeah,
anything
Quentin.
bad, though.
Come on, can we talk about before I want to talk about the ending scene
Yeah.
a little bit more because it's one of those scenes that obviously you keep thinking about, but I'm curious what your thoughts were as you were watching it the first time, because my immediate thought was the fact like, oh, this is sex is the only way she knows how to show love. And all the times that she was having sex with Ivan, it was so fast and like very athletic or from behind, like just nuts.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know.
Athletic. I love the choice of
Sean
word,
saying
athletic.
From behind. But then, the fact that it felt like she didn't know how to have sex in such an intimate way, and this was her only, her only way of showing that she showing love, and the fact that it just, and then in that moment realizing like, oh, I fucked up, and kind of coming to terms with all of those feelings. But I've heard so many people like not see it that way, so I'm curious how you saw it.
I, for what it's worth, saw it almost the exact same way. Like that's the only method of her communication. Like she can't even in the moments leading up to it, she's openly mean to Igor, like who's been mostly nice to her. I mean, obviously they had to restrain her in that one scene, and that was not good, but he's generally showed sympathy towards her, and she kind of doesn't really know what to do with that. And you're right, I think it kind of comes out in this end scene. Like even I honestly didn't even really know what was happening at first. Like I had to watch it a couple times. But I think
Why
he
do you
tries.
have to watch it a couple times, Xander?
Well, oh yeah,
He's
because
just
it's like
never
the
seen it
You
hottest
watched the
before.
sex
saddest sex scene of the year a couple of times.
Yeah, and I cried. I wept openly.
Okay.
Don't you want to hear? That's not true. But he kisses her, and I think that's kind of like what sets her off, maybe.
He tries to kiss her.
Right.
He's like pulling her face close, and like she won't let him get close.
Well, I
I
thought at
wasn't
first
sure if
she
he
was
was even
choking her.
trying
I
to
was like,
kiss her or just trying to look at her while they're having sex.
maybe that too.
Could be
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
And she's like not ready to be seen.
Yeah.
I thought this scene was very interesting. I was shocked in the moment when I was watching it. I didn't expect for it to happen, but looking back, it makes sense because Annie is a sexual person, and feeling like her way to connect with someone is like through sex. It
Mhm.
makes sense to me now looking back on it. But when she starts to cry, I feel like it's almost like she's having this sort of identity crisis, kind of like, what am I doing right now? Like,
Yeah.
why am I having sex with him? Like, what was all of this for? And I feel like in that moment, she's kind of just left with nothing besides like her experiences. And I mean, I thought it was a complicated scene, and I don't really know what we're supposed to take away from it.
Yeah.
I think.
Loved that throughout the movie, it was a chaotic movie and so many fucks. Like the only moments of calm were when they were together, like on the plane, in the house when they're just like watching TV, in the car. That was the only like peace. The rest of it was screaming chaos.
Yeah.
Even just when she was on the couch with Ivan, it was constant like gunshots, playing like Call of Duty, like just chaos and madness. And then when those two were together, it felt like a deep breath.
I love Igor, played by Yura Borzov, who probably
great.
should have. Who won Best Supporting Actor?
No, Kiernan won.
Oh, come on, Igor should have won.
That's who I thought was gonna win.
Yeah, but what I want to give Sean Baker probably. I feel like I think the end. I think people have trouble with the ending because I think it can be read the way like you, Anna, and Ander too are like kind of read it. I think all that's there, but I do think there's like another layer to it where it's like, well, what is Igor wanted from Anora this whole time? Like I do think this is kind of a movie about like how relationships are transactional, and it's like, is Igor being nice? Like, I think Igor is a decent guy, and I love Igor. I think he's a sweetie pie, my bald little sweetie. But I think the other relationships of the movie kind of make you question, like, is he doing this to get something from Anora? Like, does he want to get in her good graces so that, like, oh, maybe I have a chance. Maybe when this whole thing explodes and fizzles out, like, I have a chance to maybe like talk to her more or be around her more.
we'll never really know. We don't
Yeah.
really get a whole lot on Igor, but it's a fair question. I don't know. Like, it seems like it's from the angle of him consoling her, but then obviously, like, you don't have to escalate it that far if that's the case. So yeah, maybe he is angling for something that's seen beyond the camera.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like doesn't Anora is the one who initiates sex
She
when
does.
they're in the
She
car,
does.
right? I don't know. I felt like I mean, I've only seen it once and I saw it when it first came out, but from how I remember, I felt like he genuinely cared about her. Like I felt like he cared about like her safety and like her comfortability for like as much as she could be comfortable with all of the things that were happening in this crazy chase that they were going through trying to find um Vanya. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like he wanted to just like make sure she was okay. It kind of felt like that to me. I don't know if he was
Yeah.
really angling for anything. It didn't feel like that to me.
I'm famously bad at viewing men's intentions, so I
Do you want to
this is true to
expand
form.
on that?
True to
I mean,
form, I thought he had goodness in his heart.
he does. He's the only one who brings up the name Anora, really, and suggests that it's a nice name, a name that she kind of avoids throughout the whole movie. Um, which led me to one, like, I don't even know why the movie's called Anora. It seems significant. Um, I feel like maybe he kind of shows sympathy towards her in that respect, like even evoking her heritage and coming from that place of understanding. Like, there could be other angles that are worth exploring.
Also, they're both like kind of powerless. He's just like the
Yeah.
assistant to the assistant. And I think we saw this too when they were like in Vegas and they were showing the people vacuuming and things like that. Like it's such a quick jump. And I think Annie was kind of struggling with that the whole time. Like she wasn't really looking at them. The people who were like changing the sheets in the house, kind of going from like the laborer to, the person who gets like a fur coat.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of like saw her there. We don't even know what his job is. He's just kind of like a helper. Like no one really explains who he is or why he's there. He's just kind of like holds her down and tells her to be quiet. Like he doesn't have control over the situation in the same way she doesn't.
It's so funny. So I didn't know. I love the structure of this movie, and I had no idea it was going to be what it was. Like I thought, like most of it was going to be like this love affair, between her and Yvonne, where like they're running around. The parents are like, "Hey, you can't do this" or whatever.
Mhm.
That's like the first 50 minutes, and then like the next 2/3 of the movie are just like running around for like 16 hours trying to find Yvonne. And like when Igor enters the scene, I'm like, this guy's kind of scary. I don't like that he's bald. I don't like that he's Russian. That those two things together don't have good connotations. And then when he's a sweetie pie, it really caught me off guard. And I was like, wait, this is like a quiet romance between Igor and Anora. I'm like, that's like so clever. And also, I just want to say, I'm not saying that Igor is like the worst man on the planet. Nothing really textually in the movie is saying that. I just think Sean Baker's like previous movies and also like kind of the way he depicts Yvonne and Anora's relationship, like sort of how it fizzles out, and like it seems like they were kind of both using each other, but obviously the power dynamic is off because Yvonne has the money and Anora doesn't. But I just think with all that taken into account, I just like have to wonder, like, is Sean Baker just like trying to make like a more mainstream movie and being like, see, this is kind of like a weird kind of sideways maybe romance between Igor and Anora, or is there more there that like he isn't saying? And that's what I like about Sean Baker.
What you're saying there.
Yeah, like I feel like what I love about Sean Baker's movies is like he's not like he's not like on a podium telling you what the movie is. He's kind of just like letting these characters exist and like letting you kind of figure out how you feel about them.
Sean tricked you, dude.
Any other thoughts?
Was anyone else devastated when the marriage got annulled? I knew I shouldn't be rooting for this marriage, but I was.
I was also, yeah. Sean Baker I feel like he tricked us all, man. He tricked us into believing Igor was just a generic Russian goon. I didn't even write his name down. I was like, this is a character that'll disappear in 5 minutes. He tricked me into thinking that maybe this relationship does work in the end and it's all smiles, and it sure as hell isn't in the end.
It's so funny that you say that, because I was watching with my friend Anna, and she mentioned, she was like, wait, so who's nominated from this movie? Because we had watched it like a couple days after the nominations came out, and I was like, oh, the guy who plays Igor. And she was like, that bald guy? Oh, he's a main character? Like, she thought he was just some background actor.
I literally thought the same thing. Like, when I saw the nominations, I was like, who is that in Anora? Then I watched it, I was like, oh, this is like an incredible performance. Yeah.
But he's not really in the beginning.
No, he's not in for like the first hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And not really that big of a deal until the last like 35 minutes.
Totally.
No, he's responsible for the emotional crux of the piece.
I thought Vanya was going to put up way more of a fight.
I thought so too.
With his parents. Like, I thought it was going to get a lot more messy, but then he just disappears and kind of just goes with what his parents say because he doesn't want to be cut off.
Yeah, I think that shows how much, like, how valuable the currency is that they have. Like, that's why it hurt Annie so badly when she lost it. That's why he was not willing to fight for it, because like that money is just so powerful.
I mean, they're so powerful that I kind of love the moment. I thought it was so cool, but then like it's immediately deflated. Like when Vanya's mom is like, hey, Anora, get on the fucking plane. And Anora's like, no, I didn't sign a prenup. I want half.
I was like hooting and hollering.
If you even talk to a lawyer, your whole family is not going to have a cent. They're going to be fucking a black bags they put on their head. They're going to disappear. And I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
They're going to fall out of a window very suspiciously.
Yeah. They'll end up with cinder blocks tied to their feet surreptitiously.
And the next shot is like literally her sitting on the plane. I'm just like, God, that fucking sucks.
I think Mikey Madison totally deserves this Oscar. And I feel a lot of the discourse around what you were just saying, I've seen has been said is, oh, Demi deserves it. Like, she'll never be nominated again. Like, this was her one opportunity to get an Oscar, which I think is just ridiculous. Like, I think you should just give it to the person that you think performed the best. And that's obviously what happened. So,
yeah, none of this legacy nonsense anymore.
No, Timmy should have gotten the award. And also, Mikey Madison, this was, other than just like that little bit in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I had not really seen her before. And I just kind of assumed that she was like the character. And then seeing her do like interviews and stuff, and she's just this like soft-spoken girl from Los Angeles. I was like, oh, okay, you killed it. You deserve it.
Yeah, totally different
she's
person.
like so demure.
Yeah, so mindful.
And that's a wrap on 2024, folks.
Hey.
Anora, a wonderful movie. Go see it.
Great job.
Stream it on Peacock. I don't know.
Tubi.
I
don't know.
Booby on Booby.
Stream it
on Booby.
Stream it on Booby. It might be I think the best joke ever told on this show so far.
On Poopy.
On Booby, for God's sake.
Should we talk about the other nominees for 2024?
Yeah.
Other nominees.
Fanfare. I love it.
Okay. So these are it took me,
You still get away with saying stream it on Booby, and then I make one weird voice, and everyone's like, "Okay."
Unless it rhymes with Ubi, it's cut from the show. It's out.
So the nominees. Obviously Anora wins. That's the top because it's an A.
Nice.
Second, we have The Brutalist. Who's got it?
That's me. I'll introduce The Brutalist, and maybe we could have a little discussion about it if you guys are around. I don't know what you guys are up to, but maybe we could talk about it. How about that?
The Brutalist. That was your nickname in high school. Tell them
sure
why.
was. It sure was. The Brutalist. Let me check my notes. Directed by Brady Corbet, and starring Dr. Adrian Brody, not a doctor, also won Best Actor. Congrats, big bro. It's about a man's quest to complete a massive architectural project against all odds, those odds including but not limited to exorbitant expenditures, overambition, religious persecution, personal vices, and he's compelled to do it just for the chance to ingratiate himself into a community and a country that just tolerates him, a Jewish Hungarian immigrant, and refuses to accept him. So all that is his thrust for completing this massive project. I'll get this out of the way. The movie's long as shit. It has maybe the weirdest handjob scene of the year. I don't know. Haven't seen them all. And it reportedly features AI influenced Hungarian accents. Confirm or deny, I cannot. But I'll give you 4 reasons why you should watch it.
Give me a 5.
The score is impeccable. Done by Daniel Bloomberg. I thought it was actually very good. It was way too long, maybe a little bit. The ending just kind of floated away, but I'll turn it over to you guys. What do you guys think about it?
I didn't see it.
Awesome.
Disrespectful waste of time. I left furious. I actually, as I was leaving, yelled on my way out, and I think alarmed all of the people selling tickets at Cobble Hill Cinemas. I have never hated a movie so much in my life.
Yes.
It felt like a 3.5-hour circle jerk.
This is why we bring Anna on.
It was even longer than that.
If you cut out the part before intermission, it would have been too long. Towards the end, and I consider myself a kind, compassionate person, I was just hoping that the characters died so the movie would end. There's a point where someone nears death, and I thought, oh, here we go. This is going to wrap it up. I was furious.
Least favorite movie of the year?
Yes, least favorite movie of the year.
Beautiful.
I gave it a 0.5 star on Letterboxd, and if I could have given it less, I would have. But you can't without writing, and I wanted to write a review because I felt that passionate, and I don't feel that passionate about many things.
First of all, that's beautiful.
Adrian Brody's speech made me want to throw up. First of all, he shouldn't have won. If you have AI helping you with an accent, you don't deserve an Oscar.
I completely
would
agree.
like to see the difference for the record. For the record, I bet you it's not even different.
Keep going, Anna, please.
On his acting alone, he shouldn't have won. Then to ask for the music to be shut off, say I've done this before, and then say absolutely nothing is the kind of behavior I do not want to see anymore. I have had enough, and I thought the Oscars were a space where we do not tolerate that kind of masculinity.
He also threw his gum at his wife. Also,
yeah, that's messed up.
Also,
can't do that.
I hate this campaign he's been on this whole Oscar season of as if he hasn't been in a movie in 35 years. It's like, dude, you get cast and shit. You're in Wes Anderson movies. Why are you crying? Shut up. Because you're not the lead anymore? Yeah, people fucking come and go. It's Hollywood, baby. I didn't tell you to be an actor.
He's pissed because Terrence Malick cut him.
J. Crew campaign.
J. Crew?
Yeah, he's like the face of J. Crew.
Oh, he is?
He
Get the
is?
fuck out of here.
I thought I was the face of J. Crew. My
Well-
manager owes me an apology.
The Pooh shirt is a J. Crew original, of course.
Of course. Of course.
I hated the Brutalist. And once I calmed down a little bit because I left raging in a rage. Once I calmed down, I decided, you know what? I missed something. Like something went over my head. I need to sit down, read it and you know what I did? I took the time. I didn't miss a damn thing. I got it. Worst movie of the decade for me.
Wow.
Incredible.
I love it.
Evelyn.
Sorry, Evelyn, I
Anna-
took up space. What do you think?
Anna, I'm so glad you got that off your chest. It seems like you've been holding that in for a while. Wait,
did you think?
before I give my thoughts, I wanted to ask Michael, why didn't you see it? I'm just curious.
Too long. I'll see it
Fair.
like when it's available to rent for a reasonable amount of money. I also see, and it's not fair to the movie. I just like kind of hated the conversation around The Brutalist too. Like, I just hated seeing Brady Corbet's face being like, "We shot it on VistaVision. Oh yeah, I made a long movie. Psh, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to go back to old American epics." I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Ba, 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 ba.
I'm sure I'll
Oh my
like this
goodness.
movie though. Like, cause I'm a sucker for artsy fartsy stuff. I'm sure I'll be like, yeah, great movie.
I really liked this movie. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the visuals. I thought that Adrian Brody was great. I love the score. And the only thing that I feel like takes away from it is the length and the fact that it does feel a little bit bloated. Like, I feel like it could have been edited down a little bit, like maybe a half hour, and then then we wouldn't have needed an intermission.
Yeah.
But something else that I thought, has anyone here ever read the book A Little Life?
Mm-mm.
I have it. I have not read it.
This movie is kind of like that book where it's like, what bad thing is going to happen next to this person? It's like one bad thing after another. And the thing that I felt really just made no sense this movie and I didn't like was the rape scene. It thematically made no sense to the movie to me. I mean, I feel
I
like we
agree.
can try and explain it away, but it just didn't really add anything. It kind of just was like, let's just shit on the main character more and just make his trauma deeper for the movie. And it just didn't really make sense. And that's like one of the things I don't like about that book, which is kind of like this movie. It's just like one bad thing after another, after another, after another. It's like, it's just like every horrible thing that can happen to a human gonna happen to someone in this movie.
Yeah, we didn't need another thing to unpack, you know?
It just made no sense.
Yeah.
Next up, we have A Complete Unknown.
Surprise, surprise. Here I am again.
Sandra, why don't you?
Great to see you all. It's me again. A Complete Unknown, better known as the Bob Dylan movie, probably. Stars a young Timmy Chalamet, directed by James Mangold. Timmy plays an upstart young folk singer named Bob Dylan, aka Robert Zimmerman. He evolves from a wandering minstrel newsie to a full-blown megastar. And it's his upstart of his career, featuring heavily the music of Bob Dylan, famously his songs covered by Timothy Chalamet. But it also features the music of folk icons like Pete Seeger, Joan Baez. And I loved it. I thought this was an excellent movie. Not only did it reinvigorate my love for Dylan's music, it reinvigorated my love for all these artists, the big artists of like the folk, golden era of folk. And I think more importantly, I just had a nice time. I saw it with my folks. And then we went back and spent a nice afternoon sharing some sharing our opinions on that type of music. My mom was showing me her old Joan Baez records, and it just progressed into a nice afternoon that I have a fond memory of. And if that's not what movies are about, then what are movies about? I can't quite attest to. I was a fan of Bob Dylan's music before. I don't know what this would be like for somebody who doesn't really know or care about him. But I do think Bradley Cooper take fucking notes. This is how Maestro should have been done. I'll say that much. Because once you're done, you're like, I gotta listen to more Dylan. I don't know how anybody else felt, but
I don't know much about Bob Dylan, and I love
Neither
this
did
movie
I.
too.
Neither
Awesome.
did I. And I
Yeah.
also love this movie. And I've been listening to Joan Baez and Bob Dylan because of this movie. Completely
Cool.
agree.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I didn't know anything really about the folk world at all,
Neither.
but loved this movie, loved the world that it created, and
Mhm.
could have like stayed in that for the length of The Brutalist and still enjoyed myself.
Yeah. Another great New York movie, right? Like I just loved living in New York in the 60s. It was so cool.
And Timmy smashed it out of the park.
Knocked it straight out of there.
His fingernails were disgusting in that movie, though.
Yes.
Gross.
So gross.
Blame Bob for that. Don't blame Timmy.
It's true,
I
yeah.
know,
Bob.
but, ugh.
I didn't see this movie. I really wanted to. I love Bob Dylan. Very important guy to me.
You're gonna like it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I will say, just as a recommendation to people who might be watching, to Anna, Evelyn, Ander, I'm Not There by Todd Haynes is like a movie in which like 5 stories kind of happen concurrently, like in different periods of time, and like a different actor plays a different version of Bob Dylan. Like Heath Ledger plays one version, Kate Blanchett plays him.
What's this called?
Cool.
I'm Not There.
I love Todd Haynes.
Yeah. It's such a such a good movie, and it just like is full of Bob Dylan's music. Let's keep chugging along. Next up, we have Conclave. Is that also you, Ander?
You guys aren't gonna believe this. Listen, I wasn't the one who decided we should do this alphabetically. I think we should, I don't know, but here I am again. It's nice to see you all. Conclave, this year's premier Pope 'em Up. Let me check my notes. Directed by Edward Berger or Berger?
Let's say Burger.
Let's say Berger. Ed Berger, starring Big Ray Fiennes as a cardinal, leading the selection committee that will determine the next pope, who has recently passed away. It's kind of tough to talk about this one, not because I don't enjoy this movie, I do, but because I fear if I talk about it too much, it'll spoil it. So I think the only thing I could really say is like, go watch Conclave. It's very good. It may be the best looking movie I saw this year. Just these beautiful painting-like scenes of shadowy cardinals in an auditorium, or these stark gray hallways with pops of red color everywhere. It just looks beautiful. It's got this great like page turner quality to it that makes you want to know like what's around the corner of every scene. And it's just a great, don't be dissuaded by, don't be walking to Blockbuster and seeing a cross on the DVD cover and thinking this is gonna be boring as shit. I thought the same thing.
Don't be walking to Blockbuster at all, because you'll walk into a ditch.
Well, old media is coming back, so walk into the Blockbuster and pick this up because it's actually very good. Do both. You could do a little bit of both.
I have some thoughts about this movie.
Go ahead.
So I really liked this movie, and I thought it was a lot of fun, kind of like what you were saying. I was hooked. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I kind of love a movie where there's a conspiracy unfolding, and there's a ton of different possibility. I love like a mystery, kind of like, it's almost like a whodunit type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the ending of this movie, I won't say much, obviously, because of spoilers. I already spoiled the end of Anora, but
that's fine.
It completely subverted my expectations of what I thought was going to happen, and not in the best way. Like I don't have a problem with how it ended, and I thought it was interesting and has an interesting message and meaning. But I was kind of hoping for like something a little bit more scandalous. I was just like, okay. Like I kind of wanted there to be some juice, you know? I don't know. It just didn't.
It was quite
It wasn't the
sandy.
pay. It wasn't the payoff I was hoping for.
It was what, Anna?
Quite scandy. Quite scandalous.
It was yeah, but like it was like a positive Scandi,
Yeah.
right? Is that fair to say, Evelyn?
Yeah, which is like, I guess why I wasn't like, oh my God, like this is crazy. I was kind of just like, okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
I wasn't like fucking mind blown. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was surprised, obviously, because like I said, it's not what I thought was gonna happen, but
Yeah. It's the kind of ending that makes you think like, oh, this is not about what I thought it was about.
I've seen this movie finally. I've seen a movie
Nice.
that we were talking about. I think this movie is so fun. Um, a really like conservative cardinal takes a rip from a vape at one point, and it rocks.
Yeah. They're just
Um,
huffing cigs in this one. On their they're just like on their they're tweeting like a shit ton. They're like, you see this fucking tweet on X? It's like, what the fuck?
um, I kind of like love the ending. It's this movie's like a little bit trashy in the way that like kind of like a airport paperback is trashy, but also the ending kind of moves me just because I'm a good little lib. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I highly recommend this movie. I think it's so fun. Ray Fiennes is just the most exacerbated man you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's just exhausted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this movie. I thought it was great.
Nice.
As a former little Catholic girl, it felt a little nostalgic and
Nice.
fun.
All those men in their little hats.
They got
Just
great
good
hats.
guys. Some of them.
Some of them, yeah.
You know, one thing I do like about this movie, last thing I'll say, one thing I do like about this movie, I like that it like made me be like, oh yeah, every institution, even if it has like the worst history, is still populated by like groups, like radical groups within it, like who are like, no, it should be way more open and like friendly to just everybody and tolerant. And then like there's like, you know, a group that's like, oh, we like this conservative guy who's gonna, you know, make the Vatican great again or whatever. Next up we have Dune Part 2.
Dune 2 is about the battle for a planet called Arrakis. It revolves around Paul Atreides, who is the son of Leto Atreides. I think that's his name. I
One of
forget.
those guys, yeah.
But his dad died in the movie before, and
Spoilers.
he is. I mean, if you haven't seen Dune 1,
What
come
are you
on.
doing here?
Get
Yeah.
on it. Get on it. But he's joining the indigenous people of Arrakis, the Fremen, in order to, I guess, sort of train and get ready to try and secure Arrakis from colonizing forces from all over the galaxy and making sure that they don't have access to spice. But in doing so, he kind of becomes an egomaniac and is falling into this sort of religious fervor that's going on about him because everyone sees him as this kind of like prophet. Oh, he's going to save the planet. And yeah, that's Dune 2.
I don't particularly. I'm interested in the world that Frank Herbert built. I liked seeing it put to visuals, and the visuals are great. But I wouldn't hang out with any of these people. I wouldn't talk to these fucking people. Like everybody kind of has this sort of bland, very serious affect to their voice, and I feel like even like there's so many great actors in this movie that aren't really given a ton of room to shine or flex their chops at all. I'm just like, I don't know if I really care about these people, to be quite honest with you.
I think like a problem. I think like so. Me and Andrew recently talked about the first Dune because it was nominated in that year. I think that movie's okay. I really like Dune Part 2. I think it's really good. I think it's really fun. It's kind of all of the promise that the first movie sets up. Um, but I do think there is a problem with like Chalamet's performance because I don't think he really gets at like this guy's fucked up. I just like kind of see him as like a little kid who's like playing leader. I don't know. And maybe that's the point. I don't know. He's not bad. It's just like sort of a kind of muted performance. I mean, like you said, Andrew, like so many of the performances this are like very muted that you're like, what do these people actually feel?
Yeah.
I feel like there are some really powerful performances in the movie. I want to be a Bene Gesserit personally. I want to be a witch who can control people's minds. Yeah, that sounds like a good time to me. I wanna live on Arrakis. I wanna huff some spice. It's kind of what I want to do. I'm not gonna lie. And
Cat?
yeah, that was a cat.
Okay, just making sure.
Anna, any thoughts on Dune Part 2?
So, you know one thing about me. I hate a superhero and I hate a sci-fi. Could not even. I would rather watch The Brutalist again than watch Dune or Dune Part 2. And Evelyn, you gave a beautiful description of the plot. It only made me want to watch the movie less. You did a great job. Did I give a good description? The description was great, but everything you said, I was like, yep, I don't like that. Like, I have enough problems in my life. I can't think about spice for time travel.
It's so they can space travel, actually, and see the future.
Denis, come on the show. I love Blade Runner 2049. Next up, we have, I think Evelyn's is also you, we have maybe the most controversial movie of the year. It is Netflix's Amelia Perez.
Okay. Amelia Perez. Amelia Perez is about Zoe Saldana says it's about 4 women. I would say it's about 3 women, but besides the fact, it is about a Mexican drug lord, and he wants to transition into a woman, and he enlists the help of a lawyer to do so. Why a lawyer? I'm not quite sure. But then he abandons his family to kind of live as herself for a while and kind of get used to being Amelia. And eventually she wants to rekindle her relationship with her family, but does so by masquerading as a rich auntie. And everything goes to shit. And everyone, I was about to spoil. I won't spoil. Yeah, that's basically what the plot is. It's a musical as well. And there's a lot of things about this movie that I really, really, really love. And then there's a lot of things about this movie that are reprehensible and horrible and just make no sense. Again, like, why do we need a lawyer to transition? I'm confused. Why are we singing? Why are some of the songs bad? Yeah, there's just a lot that just does not make sense about this movie. But there's a lot that I freaking love about this movie, and I have very complicated feelings about this movie. I gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, which I felt like was generous compared to what a lot of people are feeling about this movie. I was entertained. I had fun watching it. I watched it with my girlfriend. I felt like she had fun watching it too. But I think that she thought it was bad. I think that she didn't think it was as good. I think she like enjoyed watching it because it was bad. So yeah, that's Amelia Perez for you.
I thought the movie was problematic, and I understand why people are pissed about it. The viewing experience, I watched it with my mom, and as soon as it ended, we both looked at each other, and her response was, "Not as bad as Everything Everywhere All at Once."
Whoa, I did not. I was just blindsided by that.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
Like the last Oscar movie that we watched together, and we watched this early, but it was It was like right around when it went on Netflix, and it had already kind of been getting hype for the Oscars. So I think that's why she connected the two. But that was our takeaway. After the movie, I was like, you know what? I did get some things out of it. It was a lot different. It was something totally different than what I thought it was going to be. I did not dislike watching it, but I do understand, why people are really disappointed in the storytelling of the movie. I thought the music sucked as well.
You can't have a
It's hard
musical
to
with the
do a
music
musical
sucks.
with bad music.
Yeah.
Did you watch this, Ander?
True to my character, I saved the two musicals for last and just did not get to them, so I apologize. But I did not see Emilia Perez. Should
Yeah.
I see it?
No.
Really?
I think you should see it. I think you
Okay.
should see it.
I will go see it then. I think I gotta see this thing through.
It wasn't my least favorite.
It wasn't mine either.
It fell in the middle of the list.
Evelyn, your description made it so I was like listening to me like that sounds kind of fucking sick. I'm just not partial to musicals is all.
It's kind of all over the place, and for the music, I was kind of half and half on it. Like, I felt like half of the songs were great, and then I felt like half of the songs were like bleeding from the ears bad. So, yeah, I don't know. I was very half and half on the music. Like, I felt like there is better songs in the movie than El Mal, and especially Mi Camino. I thought those two like weren't two of the strong songs, which were both nominated, both took up a slot in best song. So
It is one of those movies where when you hear the story, it sounds better than the act of watching the movie.
I got the next two. So next up we have I'm Still Here. I didn't see this movie, so I'm going to read the letterbox description. It's directed by Roger Sals.
You didn't see it?
You're introducing it.
do you want me to talk about it, Michael? I can talk about it.
Go for it, please.
I just went to the movies 20 minutes, like an hour ago, to see this movie.
Do you want to talk about it, Anna?
No, it's still too fresh. You could do it.
Okay. So I'm Still Here is about Brazil during a dictatorship. It seems like to me. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just like
That's correct.
yeah. So it's under tyranny, and it's about this beautiful, amazing family and the turmoil that ensues after the father of the family is taken in for questioning and disappears, and then the mother is taken in for questioning. She comes back, the father never comes back. And it is about the family grappling with this and trying to be a family still without the father figure in the household, and living through this horrible political turmoil. That's the best way I could put it.
I went into it not really knowing much about the movie. I loved it. I sobbed through the ending, and then once I found out that it was a true story right at the end, I sobbed even more. I thought it was beautiful storytelling, great acting, shot beautifully. I loved it.
Couldn't
What about
agree
you, Andrew?
more.
The exact quality, the page turning quality that Conclave had is, I think, missing from this big time. There was nothing really to make me like what is next? What's happening? Like I didn't feel like we were thrust into. I think the characters like were very developed and well understood, and I also was touched by the fact that these are real people. It's an important story to tell. But I just was sitting there a little bit bored and a little bit like, let's get to the next thing. I didn't feel like it had a lot of momentum or energy to it.
It's a quiet drama.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I wouldn't say it's a slow burn. Anna, would you?
But I would say it was the quiet movement, like quiet moments that really affected me in the movie, where there was a lot of action. I feel like that was to move the plot forward, but those really quiet moments I feel like are where I connected with the characters. And Eunice by the end, I was so connected to her, and when they jump time and you go kind of with this family through time, she had me sobbing.
I want them to keep going. Let's see 2038. Let's see 3019. Let's see like what's going on. I was like, we're really skipping through time here.
I think you're looking for Robert Zemeckis' Here with Tom Hanks.
Is that out yet?
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
I will say I understood it, The Brutalist. I didn't like or understand the main character.
Yeah, he's kind of opaque.
This main character, I think you could have a quiet movie when it's truly character driven, and you're able to like see into the mind and of the character that's kind of taking you through it. In this movie, I was. In The Brutalist, I was not. I felt so disconnected.
I think at least in The Brutalist, I saw a guy who is his art. I feel like that's been so overdone by so many different movies in the past, but I think I at least gave some sort of window into who he is.
To be fair, I also think I just connect more and like movies more with strong women.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Where I like the idea of a mother having to not only deal with the loss of her husband, but protect her children of varying ages and who are able to understand and process to varying degrees, realize how you're going to support a family. I'm not a mom or any of those things, but to me, that is like, that moves a movie.
Next up, we have my favorite movie of the year.
Wow.
It is Ramel Ross's Nickel Boys, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Colson Whitehead, which is also excellent. I highly recommend it. Nickel Boys is about Elwood. It's set during like kind of civil rights era, like kind of like early 60s Jim Crow era, like set in Jim Crow era South, specifically for Florida. And it's about Elwood, who is just like a nice guy. He's very good in school. He feels very empowered by the speeches of Martin Luther King Jr., and he is wrongly convicted of stealing a car and sent to Nickel Academy, which is, like a reform school for adolescent boys. And the school is separated between black students and white students. And there Elwood meets Turner. And it's just sort of like, for a long time, it's about just like these two boys' experiences at Nickel. Like Anna, you talking about I'm Still Here, like you're just immediately drawn to like a movie with like a strong female protagonist. I think Nickel Boys to me is like a kind of movie about masculinity I want to see more of, which is about like soft boys who are like soft boy friends, but not boyfriends.
No boyfriends. No.
Although you
There
could
were
read some
several
queer
times
subtext
where I
into the
questioned
movie.
that, though.
Huh?
There were several times throughout the movie where I was like, "Oh, are they gonna kiss?"
You can definitely read. I feel like even in the book, I feel like there's like kind of like a queer subtext you could read underneath the relationship. But yeah, I just think this movie is so like profoundly beautiful. Obviously, the whole thing is like it's shot in first person, and then there are flash forwards like 20 years ahead to an adult Elwood, winky winky, who's filmed from behind. It's Daveed Diggs plays the adult Elwood, and like I just think like those sections really like kind of like to me the movie like is also about like how like other people's memories become our own as a way to like keep them alive, and like especially when you're young, subjective experience can feel objective with another person if you're close enough with them, like you're both sharing the same experience. I mean, in ways they
Totally.
are, but like literally the same experience. Like you're looking through the same eyes. Um, yeah, I just love this movie so much. There's so much cool like cross-cutting with like archival Apollo 8 footage. Ramel got a Ramel. And yeah, just like a profoundly beautiful, very Terrence Malick-y movie that I love so dearly.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the tragedy of it is losing that person with whom you've had this formative experience with. Part of that shared memory is gone because that person is gone. I feel like that's such an impactful thing to take away. I also love this movie.
I thought this was a beautiful story, and I thought the filmmaking got in the way of the storytelling. Every time I would really get connected, I would really feel myself in the story. Something would take me right out, whether it was just like the way, I don't know. I think I don't like when people talk directly to camera. That kept taking me out. Also, I understand the reasoning behind why they would just repeat lines. And I think it's a cool thing when you think about like memories. But every single time that happened, it took me right out of the movie where I had a really hard time like getting swept up in it because I kept like feeling myself as a viewer watching a movie in a way that I think it distracted from the story, which I thought was beautiful.
It was a little bit obtrusive to me in the beginning where I was like, oh, they're going to be talking at me the entire time. I don't know if I could even process this. But as the movie went on, I found it refreshing to see acting in a first person view. Like, you don't really get that. Like, it gives you this new sense of appreciation for the little nuances and ways that people talk to each other, and then like unique camera movement, like looking down at your shoes, like very human elements and things that people do in real life. I thought were interesting little injections into the film. Plus, the twist could not have been as impactful without the first person perspective.
Yes, but it felt like I was like in a VR. Like I just felt very disconnected from the story. Like I honestly would have liked to see this, and I don't. I in theory love it. In reality, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I had the same feeling about this movie. This was my least favorite movie out of all of the nominations. I found the first person perspective really annoying. I didn't like it. I found it nauseating at some points. I hated the third person behind the headshots too. And I thought the twist just made me angry. It just made me feel like, what was this all for? And it made me so angry. I don't know why. It just pissed me off. I was like, this person that I thought I knew wasn't who I thought they were, which I mean, I guess some people might like that and think it's surprising and exciting, but it just really bothered me. I really did not. I really did not like the twist. And now that I'm talking about this movie, I actually dislike it more than I thought I did. But what I will say that's good about this movie is it is like a gorgeous film. The story itself is really interesting to me. The setting of Nickel is fascinating. Like, that's just like a fascinating place to me. Obviously, I've never been anywhere like that. So, and I've never really watched anything about that before. So, the idea of Nickel in general was very, very, very interesting to me. And I loved the story. I just hated the twist. And like Anna said, I hated the way it was shot. I hated it. Yeah.
Next up is The Substance.
The Substance is about an actor, fitness guru who, her name is Elizabeth Sparkle. She becomes 50 years old and essentially ages out. So she finds this mysterious substance that brings out a younger version of her that she births through her back.
Awesome.
And things get weird. And things get weird fast. And when you think they're going to stop getting weird, they get weirder. A very graphic body horror. Probably the most graphic body horror I've ever seen. And usually I'm not someone who does well with horror, but I think because maybe because I am a woman and this subject matter I deal with every day, this didn't feel so scary. Like, feels pretty close to home. Actually, I loved this movie. I thought it was I at first was like, wait, some of these things, there's definitely a lot of plot holes, and you cannot look at this movie literally, but just taking it kind of as a whole, I thought it was super effective. I had a lot of fun watching it. I thought the like message was beautiful, and I love that they kind of beat us over the head with it. Um, and the scene of Demi Moore scrubbing off the lipstick before going on that date, I thought was just some of the best acting we saw all year. I still think that Mikey Madison should have won the Oscar, but that scene in itself I thought was really incredible and one of my favorite scenes of a movie of the year.
I think this movie is amazing, and I I felt like I hadn't had like this much fun watching a movie in a really, really long time, and it felt very refreshing. And I think the aesthetics of this movie are just so fucking cool. Like her apartment is sick. Like I love like the marketing behind the substance is so good. I love that. Um and I just think the score is, oh my God, incredible, incredible, incredible. I love it. I literally listen to it while I'm like on the computer doing work. And I just feel like I'm like at a rave in Berlin, and I just love it. Um, and I think Margaret Qualley is amazing in this. I think Demi Moore is amazing in this. And Dennis Quaid is evil and so scary and creepy. And I think one of the best scenes in a movie and from the entire year is the theater scene. I'm obsessed still. Obsessed. That scene, I literally just can't get out of my head. It's amazing. One of the best horror moments ever, I think, of all time. Just so good.
This movie was a blast to see in theaters.
You saw this in theaters?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters opening weekend.
See, I wish I'd seen it in theater, but kind of a testament. I love this movie also. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. A testament to how much this movie works is I watched it on my phone by myself, and I was like hooting and hollering. And like, yeah, I kind of have nothing else to add. Like, I agree with everything Anna and Evelyn, you guys have said. Like, yeah, the ending is just some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. I loved it so much. I was
so
fucking
crazy.
cackling. I wanted to vomit. It was great. Ander, what did you think of The Substance?
What am I missing here, guys? This maybe was my least favorite movie of the year. I think it absolutely sucks monkey butts. I'm so sorry.
Monkey butts.
Sorry. I don't know what to say. I do think the music is great. I will give it that point. The music kind of rips. Some movies are so compelling that you can't look away, and then some I feel like are so repulsive I couldn't even look up. I am not typically one I'm not typically one for body horror, so this was a new endeavor for me. I do get a bit squeamish, so that probably was a factor. But I can ultimately tolerate it if it's in the service of some impactful moment, and I just wasn't really getting it. Maybe it's because I'm a man, but I felt like I just couldn't really connect. Like I agree with the messaging. The emotional abuse of women in Hollywood is crazy. Unrealistic beauty standards are crazy. But I'm getting hit with like this plot device I've seen over and over. It's like, do you think she's going to abuse the rules of The Substance? Yeah, of course she is. She's going to turn herself into a super gremlin. Like I just felt like I could see it coming.
You knew she was going to turn into a super gremlin? Like, I think what was so
100%.
effective is that every step of the way, I was like, oh my, at first when her hand goes and she has an old hand, I was like, oh my gosh, what is she going to do now? She has an old hand. And then like, it just kept getting worse and worse and then I kept thinking back like, oh my gosh, what she would do to reverse and only have the old hand. Like, it was so effective for me.
I think I won't take away the message that it was trying to convey. What I'll take away from this is that a woman pulled an entire turkey leg out of her belly button. You know what I mean? It's just so much absurdity on top of absurdity. Like the fact that she's a meatball sub at the end, and that was part of the metaphor. I can't. I was left with being like, I don't know what to do with this.
It's totally something that I feel like you would dig, like all of like the stupid shit.
I think I was just exhausted because typically, yes, I think the exhaustion didn't come from I don't get me wrong, show me weird stuff, but it was also uncomfortable and weird, which is there is a breaking point with that. I can only take so much, and maybe it's just because of my typical viewing habits and proclivities, but it just was a little overkill for me.
Like the fact that she at first was so repulsed by her own face that she decided to take this like not medically backed substance, and then at the end the fact that she had to like rip off the face from the wall to then put it over her meatball sub of a body.
I mean, that's the other thing, like she had every possible warning sign that this thing was going to backfire, right? This was the most shady thing of all
her
time.
own appearance that much, and she hated the fact that it got in the way of what she wanted so much that she took this major risk, and then in the end she just wished she could get back to where she started.
Right. I just think she fell victim to her own hubris in the end, and I was like, I can't show sympathy for this. I'm sorry.
I feel like every girl who watched this like immediately thought back up to the times where they were like, oh my God, they were like, oh, I thought I was so fat then. I hated my arms then. And then you look back at the picture like 5 years afterward and you're like, what the hell was I so upset about? Like, I looked great. I looked fine. That was this movie times 1,000, which it needed to be to just kind of like
drive the point home.
Right.
Yeah. But if a second you came out of your spine, would you take the thing again? I don't think so.
But if the second me that came out of my spine got me everything that I wanted,
everything in my spine stays put.
Makes sense, Andrew. And this is a compliment to you. I don't think I've ever seen someone so comfortable in their body.
It's so true. A truer thing has never been said.
Like, it makes sense that this would not connect with you. You are the most embodied person I know.
Thank you. I think. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I respect your guys' opinions. I'm sorry I called it monkey butts. It's not monkey butts. I just didn't like it as all.
Don't apologize to us. Apologize to Cora Lee.
People make movies about how others perceive women's bodies, but not so much how that gets internalized in women's bodies and the reaction, like the way that does affect people. Mm-hmm. Because I like Elizabeth, I think at a certain point, it's because of Harvey and these awful guys that drive her to this point, but she is the one who is so disgusted with her own image at a certain point too, which I think that is something interesting too. It's like women could be their own worst enemies and the toughest critics on themselves.
Yeah, and she's never like, you people made me do this. It's like, no, I hate myself so much and I hate market quality. I want to fucking choke her to death. Like,
right.
I want to spray my pus all over everybody.
God. See, that's the thing. Like, maybe I just wish they could do it however the hell they want to tell their story. But the way, Anna, you just explained it was so impactful. It's like, I just want that, but maybe the more emotional version, the more character-driven version, and not the what happened, just growths on growths, becoming a mold person, kicking a fragile old gremlin ogre lady 1,000 feet into the distance. I was like, this is where I draw the line.
Like that scene, it's like that scene where she like is getting ready to go on that date with the guy. We could all tell he thinks she's attractive. We could all see she is a lot more attractive than him, but still she's looking in the mirror and she's so disgusted with what she sees that she can't get herself to go outside. Like, I think that is the movie at its most impactful, and the rest is fun.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said.
Now it's time for Wicked.
But now we got to take a trip to Oz. Pay our friends a
What
visit.
an absolute pivot.
So here we have if you can't tell by how excited I am, this movie was the theater kid in me's dream. So Wicked tells this story of Glinda and Elphaba. This movie particular is everything that happens in the first act of the musical. Kind of these two characters coming into their own, growing up and becoming friends, making decisions that then they have to deal with in what will be Wicked Part 2. I know people have very strong opinions on this movie, but as someone who has seen some of my favorite musicals turn into terrible film adaptations, I was very pleased with this one. I thought it was so much fun. I thought it was beautiful. I thought the casting was really incredible. There definitely were moments where things kind of took me out of it for a brief second, but overall, I thought this was a great adaptation, and it's a movie that I feel like was very easy and enjoyable to watch, and probably the movie that out of all the nominees this year, I will rewatch the most. And I just love like a big movie musical. Andrew, I know you feel differently.
It's not typically my cup of tea, but everybody in my life has said, watch Wicked. I will watch Wicked.
This is a musical that I like grew up with, have seen on Broadway several times, like was very nervous. And I went to opening weekend in my green with my friend who was dressed in all pink,
Nice.
and it was a great experience.
I love this movie. I have seen Wicked on Broadway twice. I love the story. I love the songs. And I felt like it was very true to form. Like, I thought it was great and embodied the story, the characters, the music, amazing. I thought it was super fun and kind of like in the same way a Marvel movie is. Like, it's just like a good, fun, easy, enjoyable watch. Like, it's just entertaining. It's just simple as that. Like, it's just a simple, like, easy, digestible movie. It's not like I wouldn't say it's like thought-provoking like maybe some of the other nominees are, but I think it has its merits in terms of the actors' performances and the production, and yeah, I thought it was great. Probably, honestly, the ending of Wicked was probably one of my favorite endings from a movie this year. I had like full body chills. I was just completely in awe of that ending sequence. I loved it. And then whenever I listened to Cynthia Erivo's version of Defying Gravity and like the end of that song was on, I'm like thinking of the movie and I like get chills all over again. I love it. I saw it with my girlfriend's entire family. We had an entire row in the theater. It was so
Nice.
fun.
I
That's
didn't know
cool.
we were among such like Wicked heads here.
Yeah. Hell
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, I really like this movie. I basically agree with what everyone said. I didn't like love it. I do think I need to like see it again though. Not that I was confused by anything. I think I just need to like kind of absorb it a little bit more. Not be like
Will
so
say-
like going into it being like, oh, the colors aren't as bright, like a fucking loser on the internet. The songs are
sorry,
really
that's
good.
that was your takeaway?
That's exactly how I sounded coming out of the movie.
I think part of the reason why I love fantasy and sci-fi books, movies, video games, all of the above, is because like I love world building and like lore, and I feel like that's what Wicked is. Like, it's just building on the Wizard of Oz and like just like adding all of this like lore and background that wasn't there previously, and it's just so fun and so interesting to me.
Sometimes it is fun to see where the mayor of Munchkinland went to college.
Bad.
Sorry? What
I
was
said-
that?
Andrew, hit him with a baby lock them doors. Andrew could hit it. Andrew could hit those notes.
I don't know if this will even register on mic. Baby, lock them doors and turn them lights down low. Anyway,
Pretty fucking good.
thanks. Good movie.
I bet the Wiener heads didn't
Can't
know
wait to
that we
see it.
had that kind of range between us.
We got tons of range, vocal or otherwise.
I could host late night. If it's going away, let me take a shot at it.
It's already crumbling to bits.
I'll go down with the ship. All right. That is the Oscars 2025 for the 2024 year. Do we think that Anora is Best Picture worthy?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Overall, it was the best movie of the year. The Academy got it right.
Better than Coda.
Better than
See,
Coda.
I liked Coda.
I like Coda too, but this was better than Coda. I don't know
Better
why
than
Coda
Coda.
just all of a sudden Coda just woke up like, hey, what the fuck?
Evelyn's
Well-
been holding that in. She saw our Coda episode and she was like, are they serious? They think that means like more than okay?
I'd rather watch paint dry, honestly.
I
Yeah.
loved Coda.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Anora's Best Picture worthy. I feel like the Academy's kind of been on a roll of picking like really good movies like the last like 3 years. I mean,
No.
as long as this show has existed, Everything Everywhere, Oppenheimer, this, like, come on.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know you guys don't
Actually,
really.
I
know.
didn't like the last 2 years.
I think I think Everything Everywhere and Oppenheimer deserved for sure.
You know how many voting members there are in the Academy?
Oh.
There's like almost 10,000.
What?
Yes.
I thought it would be like a few hundred.
It's a lot of folks. Everybody's there. Every celebrity you could think of. T Swift has a vote. Billie Eilish has a vote.
Well, she would make sense. She has 2 Oscars.
Right. Basically, if you're nominated, I think you're given an invitation. Also, if you're recommended by 2 other voting members, you also get an invitation. So I think I think the next arc of this show is to try and get us to become voting members.
That's
all 4 of us. All of us by this time next year, we're going to be voting for who's going to be Best Picture winner.
I would save so much money if I got screeners.
That's true. That'd be huge.
That's the
I
dream.
understand it's important to support the cinema, but
Yeah. I mean, I love Nickel Boys, but I don't need to own Nickel Boys. I own Nickel Boys now for $20.
See, what's funny is I was like, am I going to buy it digitally for $20? Like, I saw it in the theater and I was like, maybe I got to own that movie. I hope Criterion puts out a Blu-ray. Please. 4K even. Oh, my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
you have a Blu-ray player?
Huh?
You have a Blu-ray player?
Not in this shabby place I live in, but my parents, I got all my Blu-rays in my parents' house.
My
That's
estate owns a
hilarious
Blu-ray
statement.
My blue ways.
player. My Blu-rays. Do I have a Laserdisc copy of freaking True Grit? You bet your ass I do.
No, it's just I could see you with a bumper sticker that says I have all my Blu-rays at my parents' house.
My other car is a Blu-ray.
Her car's a Blu-ray player.
All right, we're done here.
Yeah. Let's get the heck out of here.
Anna, Evelyn, thank you again for joining us.
Thank
in
you
the
so much.
Oscar Wieners.
Wait,
Best
I'll do my
Picture.
Carla Sofia Gascon impression.
Please.
We'll see you
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, see you
Oh,
next
yeah.
year.
God willing.
Even when we run out of Best Picture winners, like past Best Picture winners, we're gonna keep doing this until we can't anymore. Until they kick us off.
Who's they?
We'll put out
Until
one episode
I
a
own
year.
this podcast.
Until Evelyn buys us out.
Please take it. All right,
Night,
folks.
guys.
Bye,
Great to
guys.
see
See you
all.
soon. That was fun. Next week we're talking Driving Miss Daisy.
Of course. What could we possibly be talking about? It has to be Driving Miss Daisy. Has to be.
Green Book's predecessor.
Yeah.
Predecessor.
Yeah.
And Beat Do the Right Thing controversially.
Damn.
So we'll see.
I'm gonna also watch Do the Right Thing in preparation because it's been on my list
Is
for
that
a
for
long
yeah,
time.
actually definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll debate.
But until next time, if you find yourself
In times
Married.
of trouble.
shotgun married to a Russian oligarch's son,
Yeah.
and that guy stiffs you out of a life of luxury.
Oof.
You're a sex worker. You don't have health insurance. You don't have a retirement plan. No 401k. No Roth IRA. I still don't know what that is.
No.
And his mom, his freaking mother, bans you from getting a lawyer because she'll fuck up your life forever.
Ugh.
If you find yourself in those circumstances and you want a dose of revenge on that Russian oligarch and his son, or her son, I don't really know who the mom is, kind of the more powerful one in the family. We glimpse, but I want you to get a pack of hot dogs. Get like 1,000 packs of hot dogs.
Wow.
I want you to get them wet. I want you to soak those things so that it's kind of a mush.
Yeah.
Use like a emulsifier. What the fuck is it called? Like those like hand blender things.
Yeah, that was it.
Is
A mortar
emulsifier?
mortar and pestle.
What?
This is going way too long. Wrap
Take
this
one
up.
of those, grind the hot dogs into a fine little mush, and I want you to roll them into a big ball, like a Raiders of the Lost Ark sized mound. And I want you to shove it in the tailpipe of their jet plane. So that they breathe in exhaust. Or the plane explodes. I don't know.
It would probably
which.
explode, yeah. I don't think the plane has an exhaust pipe, but
It does. I've seen it.
it drives.
My dad's a pilot. Yeah, you do that, you'll get some really good revenge.
Oh boy.
Bye, Wieners.
Bye-bye.
1, 2, 3, 4. These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that microbait shit. They want the shit that bops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners.
The Venn diagram where the guy who loves a complete unknown and the guy and the person, let's say, who loves the substance, I don't think they ever meet. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm
probably
a
do.
woman, but I love both.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Sorry.
So your whole
I'm
premise
trying to
is
make a
false.
point, and I'm gonna cut that out because I look like a fool.